For those who are curious, you see my name twice because the microphone on my laptop has refused to work, so I am using it as my camera, and my microphone is on my phone. So I don't have a twin, it's just me twice. So hopefully, we get some people today. We do have a student.
Sideways.
Yeah, we do have a student with Danielle, and we might have another student coming in. So I'll give it till what, 3:04? Does it sound okay for give a chance?
3:05 for the sake of even increments.
Yeah.
That's true. I always do 3:05. I've always done 3:05, but I'm like, what if I cut back a minute? But no, we'll do 3:05.
Okay.
So in the meantime, how is everybody doing?
I'm good.
I like the hair, Carrie.
Oh, thanks. This is my lazy Friday look. Gets a little crazy.
It looks cute though.
Oh, thanks.
Carrie, just on a curiosity question.
Yeah.
I still have pending aid. When are those checks being issued?
Have all of your instructors reported your attendance?
I don't know.
That could possibly be why. Yeah, we
Gotcha.
just today I saw a couple just get released because attendance, depending on what the course is it a full-term course?
I'm in all full-term courses. I'm not in any 8-week courses.
Yeah, if your instructor hasn't reported midterm grades or attendance, that could be it.
Okay.
You can, well, you don't have anybody answering phones today. You can call and leave a message or do the chat if you want. Oh, the chat ended at 3, so we can check on it.
I mean, it's not a huge deal. I was just curious because I thought we normally have them by now.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with grades and stuff right now. I was surprised to learn that, something was just dispersed today for a full-term course, so.
But yeah, it makes sense because my one instructor delayed midterms until just this past Tuesday. So we didn't have our midterm until this week.
Yep. Yeah, so until that midterm grade is reported, that's just going to kind of hang out there. Something to look forward to, right?
As long as my stimulus comes in the mail today, fingers crossed.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes sense because I have pending aid from CSU, but that makes sense because only one of my professors has submitted a midterm grade, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I was curious too, but I'm like, my CSU advisor isn't really helpful, so I'll just wait it out. But I'm glad. I'm glad you were here. I'm glad we're doing this.
That's right.
So
I'm glad I knew the answer.
Somebody else that joined us.
What's that?
What was that, April?
We have somebody else that joined us. I'm not for sure.
By the way, April, you're sideways. I don't know why.
We got a few people.
So my phone is charging. So
okay.
I have to put it sideways. But a couple more people have joined. I know that Melinda mentioned her son is coming along with his girlfriend to find out more information too.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
I like it. And it is 3:05, so I'm glad we waited.
Yes. I know that she just left here a little bit, probably about 10 minutes ago to go home. So I just told
talk slow.
Because you guys are recording it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm recording it.
Okay. So I did tell her that if they missed the beginning, then she could follow up with you guys and get the recording.
Yes, absolutely. So for those and everyone who's joined us alike, I am putting in the chat the link where you can sign up for today to prove that you were here today, and for the upcoming financial literacy workshops that are coming up in the following Mondays. So if you attend today and the following workshops, you do get a chance to win a $250 gift certificate to the bookstore. So if you fill out if you fill out the information on that link, that's our proof if you've attended or not. So so go do that. And we're 2 minutes past our mark, so we'll go ahead and get started. So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Zaraya Aquino, and I am the current Student Senate President. And I welcome to our forum with Carrie Short, and I was going to say the Student Financial Aid staff, but it's just her today.
It's just me today.
And I will let the other senators introduce themselves.
Go ahead, Danielle.
All right, I'm Danielle Pavlik, and I am the Vice President for Student Senate. And Saul?
My name is Saul Aguilar, and I'm the event coordinator of the Student Senate.
April?
I am April Fuentes. I am the staff assistant in the Office of Student Life.
Thank you. And Carrie?
Carrie Short, Director of Student Financial Aid.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if our attendees would like to introduce themselves. It's okay if you're a student, just let us know who you are. And just for everyone's information, this session is being recorded and it will be edited so that the unnecessary commentary in the beginning will not be part of it. But it will be posted to our YouTube channel for future students to view if they are not able to join today. So to kick off our real talk on financial literacy, we will be taking turns asking Carrie some frequently asked questions. And of course, if at any moment in time during this event you have questions yourself, just unmute and ask or use the chat function. So, first question.
Okay.
What is financial literacy?
So, financial literacy is really understanding how money works and how to make informed choices and decisions, effective decisions with your money. I know the next question, so I'm going to wait.
Go ahead, Saul.
So, what is the difference between financial literacy and financial aid? As you know, what we were talking back in February.
Yeah, so I actually want to introduce another. First of all, April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month. So
Okay.
Yay! It also happens to be National Community College Month and Autism Awareness Month. So April's just hopping as far as your, things to celebrate and just bring awareness to. But financial literacy has always been in terms with financial aid, but I want to add a new one to it. But there's not a month for it. They didn't rename it, but that's financial wellness. And so financial wellness is really bringing in all of those concepts together. Understanding financial literacy, how to work money, how money works, how credit works, all of those types of things. But financial wellness comes with it that, anytime, wellness is really a hot word right now,
Yeah.
Physical wellness, mental wellness, financial wellness. So, but the main difference between financial literacy and financial aid is that financial aid really it's just a function for college, for going to college. They really are two separate things, but it makes sense that the Office of Financial Aid, Student Financial Aid here would be the one to help explain and really teach students about that if they didn't receive it in their secondary education, which I think some schools do and some schools don't. But financial aid is really just limited to there's an office. We talked about this last month, but The U.S. Department of Education regulates financial aid, and they have a sub-office called Federal Student Aid. And so they are the ones that tell us all of the rules that we have to follow in order to give financial aid to students, in order to meet their educational goals and to, complete and go out and enter the workforce and be, that global partner in the community. Whereas financial literacy, it's something that everybody can benefit from knowing. And we've also noticed, and this is the reason why I'm so passionate about bringing it here, is that or just in really to college students in general, is there seems to be, like, if your parents aren't really hip on financial literacy or wellness or some of those terms. We work with students in all of the schools I've worked at, work with students whose parents don't understand what a 1040 is when we need to collect that, or what some of those things are. So what we're hoping to do is kind of, and it goes to, goes to reason that if your parents don't know a whole lot about it, well, they might not be teaching you that because they don't know how to teach you about that. So we take it on as just something that we want to do, because everybody needs to have some literacy when it comes to understanding money, how it works, how to stay out of some of the situations that you hear about, all the time. And I do want to preface this, and for whoever's going to join us on Monday, I'm going to preface the presentation, that one's on budgeting, with this again, and that is, all of the financial wellness, financial literacy, even work with financial aid, is one thing in itself, but then you throw a pandemic on top of it, and it's really hard to, it's just hard for everything, right? It's hard everywhere, dealing with a pandemic, but so much financial literacy and all of the things that I'm going to talk about are really just, haven't been adapted for the pandemic. So I want to make sure that I don't make light of the fact that, oh, people are struggling even harder than before. So we talk about budgeting, and what do you mean budgeting? Like, I don't have enough money for groceries. I don't want to be tone deaf when we talk about those sorts of things. So I'll probably say this a couple times just because I know it's recorded and depending on when people join us and stuff, but it's hard to be everything to everybody. So we're going to, and I don't want to necessarily ignore the pandemic and what's going on with people, with students and students are people too, and just in general what's happening. But at the same time, it's hard to give you that base of knowledge and then be like, oh, but we're in a pandemic, so you've got all of this other stuff. So I just want to make sure that if I'm talking about having money to manage, like a budget, that I'm not being tone deaf in the fact that, well, some students and people in general right now don't really, can't really talk about budgeting because they're trying to, so hard to make ends meet. So I just want to make sure that that's out there. Like I said, I don't want to be tone deaf is like the perfect phrase that I think about that. So we'll talk about all of this stuff in general terms, but then you've got all these caveats, going on with the pandemic. So hopefully, does that make sense to everybody? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, definitely.
And we'll
it's
talk
really,
about,
really hard time.
Yeah,
when
and
it comes to finances.
Yeah, and there are so many programs right now. And we can even, I don't want to derail because I know that there's that we have the outline. I don't want to derail that, but if we have time at the end, I'd like to talk a little bit about the emergency aid resources and stuff that are available through the college, because there are a lot. And we just got a survey back that, a lot of our students don't know that money can be used for them. So I want to make sure that we don't run out of time to talk about that.
Okay. So, well, moving on. Why do you think financial literacy is important, and why should I care as a student? Especially for students that still live at home, with their parents and such.
I would say that almost more so, students who are still living at home need to have an understanding of that, because they probably don't have the expenses. They're probably not seeing the bills coming in, whether it's rent or mortgages or, the utilities. They're not maybe, and that's not something that kids and their parents really talk about, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's not, I would say that it's not something that they know. And those students that are already out on their own, whether because they're older or because of other circumstances, they may not have that education too, to know how to best plan and manage their money. And this really feeds into, you know, the topic that we're talking about on Monday, which is budgeting. But you know, living above your means, living within your means, living below your means, those types of things, those are hard conversations to have. And if you're not familiar with, if you've never been through any kind of financial literacy or exposure before, you might not really know what that means. Don't worry, we'll go into detail on Monday. But everybody probably sees, hopefully, you know, I know that people experience it too, but that feeling of, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bill this month. I don't know how I'm going to get money. Aside from the pandemic, we know that has brought on extra stresses in that area. But you know, you have people, not just students, but you have people who need to have that really nice car. So they have that really nice car, but they can't, you know, they have no emergency savings. Something happens to that car and they can't fix it. That part of learning about financial literacy, you know, at the get-go would help. Maybe like, okay, maybe I can't afford that car. Like the payments, yeah, that works in my budget, but that's everything that I have for anything transportation related. So if I spend my $300 on this car, what happens if I need to replace the tires? I have no other room in my budget to do that. And so then you find people getting in those situations. We all hear it. And it's not just, this is where we'll separate the financial aid part. It's not just about student loans and things like that, but credit card debt. Like, sure, you can get a credit card, but if you are charging on that credit card and you don't have the means to pay it off, then what's going to happen? The credit card debt's going to grow and grow and grow. You're not going to be able to pay that. So now not only can you not get new tires for your car, so you're driving around on bald tires in Northeast Ohio, not a good idea, but you also now have a credit card bill that you can't pay off.
Yeah.
Or things like that. So it's all about managing money is so important. You know, you all have probably read stories. Maybe you know people, maybe it's yourselves, you know, included, or maybe it's your parents or loved ones who, or maybe it's not, maybe they are, you know, they're really hip to all of this and everything's fine, but you probably know or have heard of stories where there's that, you know, that imbalance, or people get so far over their head with credit cards. When I was in college, I'll give you an example. When I was in college, it was not yet illegal for credit card companies to come on college campuses. And, you know, oh, you want a free umbrella? Sign up for this credit card. Okay, free stuff, yay. I didn't
God.
Yeah, it was bad, and it's illegal now, has been for a while. But I never did that because my parents.
I'm sure a lot of people did though.
a lot of them did, yeah. You know, when I was
actually happened to me at LCC.
Yeah. So I had a friend who would do that. And so, you know, every time somebody came on campus, she would do that. And she always had the cutest clothes. We didn't really have cell phones then, so that wasn't a thing, but, you know, she always had the cutest clothes, and she's always buying everybody drinks and makeup, flawless, you know. In college, you're allowed to be a poor college student, and that means something different now that I'm at a community college, you know, like we're not even talking about socioeconomic statuses and things like that. But when you're in college, you should kind of live like a college student so that you don't have to live like a college student when you're not in college anymore, right? When I was in college, lived like a college student. My friend Sandy, she was about $16,000 in debt just for credit cards, not including the student loans that it took her to get through college, undergrad, in 8 years. 8 years living on campus. That's really expensive. That's just what happened. She could just, here, have a credit card. Woo! You know, chances are she didn't have any talks about credit or financial literacy with her parents before they sent her off to college. And financial literacy wasn't as talked about however long ago I was in college.
So with the things that you just mentioned, I think it ties really well with our next question, which is, what do you think are some of the best ways to practice the things that you have been talking about on our day-to-day lives so that we don't fall into those traps, that we know what's coming, we know what to avoid, we know what to look into? What do you think are some of those ways?
Sure. So, and this is where it gets a little tricky with college students, because if you're a full-time college student, maybe you're not working, maybe you don't have an income. So we'll talk about some of the things that we'll try to work that in. But I would say that the number one thing is to sit down and figure out what your income is. Maybe it's benefits, maybe it's your financial aid refund, maybe you need to borrow a student loan in order to do some of those things, and there isn't anything wrong with that. Hopefully we find other resources so that you don't have to, but maybe you do have a job, and maybe you can kind of figure out how much your earnings are. But then you need to take a look at your expenses, because the main thing about budgeting and living either beyond, within, or below your means is making sure all of those things, if this is your budget, this is your income, I mean, if you're living beyond your means, you're spending, you can't even see it. You're spending more than you actually have. This is what you have. If you're living within your means, maybe you're like here. And if you're living below your means, you're like down here. But you have to know, what are your means? What are
Yeah.
they? Well, you need to identify what your income is. And that can be from anything. Like I said, there are benefit programs, anything that you can, actually calculate. And then take a look at your expenses. And for some people, we have to dig a little deeper with expenses. Okay, there's rent. Let's talk about a car. Lorain County doesn't have public transportation, right? Do they have it at all, or just no? They don't have it at all, right? Or is it just not good?
There's an RTA bus,
minimal.
but it's
It doesn't.
it's not good.
Yeah. So
It's very limited. I wouldn't say it's not good.
Okay.
It's limited.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I didn't think that
Yeah.
that was really a strong option.
Yeah.
And I knew that. I just, on the spot here.
Yeah.
So you have to think about all of those things that you need. Everybody needs a car then, right? Or a buddy that you probably
Yeah.
want to give gas money to, so these are expenses. You have to look at, as you're identifying your expenses, then if you haven't heard this before, this is one of the biggest things in financial literacy and wellness, getting on that path. What are your needs versus your wants? And if you spend too much on your wants, you don't have enough for your needs, depending on what your budget is. And the biggest thing, so having a car payment because you need a car, that's a need, right? Especially if there's not great transportation. But do you have to have a brand new car? Is that a need or a want? You need to have a reliable car.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the hottest thing, I can't even, I drive a Subaru, so it's not like not anything fancy, but you have to, you want it to be reliable. You want to be able to, things when you're looking into buying cars and things like that are, can other places repair them? Everybody's like, ooh, Tesla. Okay, do you know where you have to take a Tesla to get it? You only have like 2 options, right? Not saying that any of us can afford that or will ever afford that, but there are those types of things. But then with car payments, with a car, you've got insurance, and you've got utilities. And some people are like, oh, I have to have cable. Do you? Do you really? There's so many things you can stream, and right now there are tons of free things. So it's, so it's identifying what those expenses are. And the next thing that's coming is the Starbucks. You always see everybody with Starbucks. I don't drink coffee and I don't go to Starbucks a lot, but somehow people like to reward people or gift people Starbucks gift cards. So I had some Starbucks gift cards and I had some points, because I bought a gift card for somebody else. So I went to Starbucks last week and I got a little free pastry, which was nice,
Yeah.
It's $4 otherwise. Also like 400 calories, so that won't happen. But then I thought, oh, I have all these gift cards. I'm going to go ahead and I really like their chai. I'm just not a coffee drinker. I love the smell of it, but I never drink it. So I got a chai. It was $3.75 and it was only this big. And I was like, $3.75. Like, I see people walking around with ones that are this big, And if you think about it, if you get let's just make it $5. If you get a Starbucks 3 days a week at $5, that's $15 a week. That's $60 a month. That's whatever, I can't do the math on the spot that quickly. That's a lot in a year. So when you talk about, wants, identifying those wants versus needs, like maybe you can have one every once in a while, but as you're looking for, okay, well, if these are my expenses and this is my income, well, how do I get closer to being more balanced with that? What can I give up? You don't want to, I mean, everybody else, you also want to live your life. You want to have fun. So, financial wellness doesn't mean you can never do anything cool like that again. But the longer you don't, the longer you stay closer to living within your means, maybe you start dipping below your means, and then you start having a little wiggle room for some savings. And then, you can use your savings to treat yourself to Starbucks or things like that. And I see in the chat,
Yeah,
yeah,
I was going to mention that. Thank
these
you.
are all budgety things that we're going to go over in more detail on Monday. And I have a bunch of links and stuff to share with the budgeting session. That's this one was just an open forum, so I didn't prepare anything. But if you come to the forum on Monday at noon, so we'll have them there.
So
If you can't make it,
thank you
send-
for that response. That was very, very thorough.
Yeah.
I think it really, you responded the other question too, which was oh no, just this, and then I'm gonna go to Danielle. So you mentioned,
Michael has a question.
Oh, Michael has a question. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Hearing about all this, I formulated the question of how do you guys advertise and show the student body who you guys are and what you do and how, because it seems like a lot of people don't know about you, and what ideas do you have to change that?
So, I've only been here for, and I know you guys hear this all the time. Sorry, Danielle, Saul, and the rest. I've only been here for a year and a half, and a year of that has been in the pandemic. So I have not been able to do all of the things that I thought I would have been able to do by now. But one of the things when I was interviewing, one of the things that Dr. Ballinger and I talked about, it was, my third interview on campus, my first time meeting her, was financial literacy and upstarting a program and stuff. And in January of 2020, so I would have been here just 4 months, but in January of last year, I was sitting down with my boss and I'm like, okay, like I'm ready to dig in. I wanted to get ready for Financial Aid Awareness Month in February, and I wanted to get ready for Financial Literacy Month in April. And so I said, these are the ideas I have. This is the path that I want to take. And she's like, sounds great. Let's do it. So started some planning. Next thing you know, we had to switch gears completely to emergency planning for in case we shut down, and we shut down. So all of that kind of got bumped and pushed and everything. It got a revival when Sarai and I were in a meeting together, a Zoom meeting, and I was just like, hey, I have some ideas. Can we do something with Student Senate? And so this is, Michael, this is our foray into it, just at least starting to get the word out. With being that the campus is, mostly remote and things like that, it's hard. I know Student Senate, with all of your advertising and stuff, I know it's got to be disheartening that students aren't engaging. So we're not really sure the best way. We're not sure. I'm sure you're struggling as well on how to engage students that way. So I don't know how to get that to happen. I can tell you that I completely redesigned the financial wellness component for the SDEV courses. And so if any of you were in that this past fall, some of my slides for on Monday might look familiar. But I think we're just, we're really just starting to get it out there. The school was given a grant. We received a grant to help with financial wellness and financial literacy. So there was, it actually isn't run anything at all by financial aid though. It was all through SDEV courses and redeveloping that. So there are a lot of efforts that are happening there. And what I've been asking is, hey, can you just include us? Because we're usually closest to the material, and we have all these contacts in the field and everything. So it's still a struggle. I mean, I know I'm kind of like dancing around your answer. I think that things would be a lot, I would hope that things would be a lot different if we weren't in the pandemic, because I really think it's important for, and that's why I'm doing a lot of these presentations, is because I want to talk to students and see students, and I haven't really been able to do that, not being here that long, and then being, in lockdown for most of that time. But a lot of my staff have been here for a really long time, and we just need to get ourselves out there more. And I think the fact that we haven't been able to do that at all makes us even more anxious to do that and get things out there. But you guys are kind of hard to reach out to. We don't know how to get your attention. It's not email and it's not Facebook. So and that's part of it is hard, is how do we get your attention? And to be honest, as important as these topics are, some of you are struggling to buy groceries and struggling to pay rent, and you're worried about, taking care of others. You're worried about getting COVID yourself. So we're trying to balance, that it's all really a balancing act, and we're learning more and more. I wouldn't say that we're doing everything that we're doing everything right, but we're definitely doing as much as we can, and we're learning a lot as we go along, as is everybody, when it comes to the pandemic. So
I do get what you're saying. A lot of time the student body is very hard to get a hold of, and I did not completely introduce myself. I am a early college high school student, so therefore we're even farther away, and I've been working with the Senate to try and branch out and have more communication that way. And I do believe once that is established, more things that come through the student senate will trickle down to at least the high school side, or the early college high school side of the student body. And I do understand how it can be difficult with this time not being able to do things on campus to spark people's interest and stuff. And I do believe that the emails and the WebExes and all that, or the Zooms, are all we can really do right now. But just keeping it up and not stopping, because eventually, if people keep getting an email, they'll be like, okay, finally, what the heck is this? Oh, I need this. So persistence is a big thing, and just branching out to different parts of the student body and connecting with other groups to spread the word, I think, is just the best way of action here.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so many different things. I started to take a note there. The other thing is that so right now we don't necessarily have a full-fledged financial wellness program. So I was just, and there's a lot of, I mean, it's always a hot topic, but especially recently, I was just, or I have a session coming up, a webinar coming up on, teaching financial wellness in a pandemic time, so, and how to reach students and stuff. Wish it was before these sessions, but it's not. But the other part is, all of this will be a lot easier once we have an established program. So that's we've kind of laid those tracks, working with Lorain and the Student Senate on getting the topics, getting, Student Senate to realize and recognize us as that source of that information. But there are some schools, so I forget I actually have it pulled up here. Ohio State, they're one of the speakers, so I just went out to look at their, what they've got. They call it, oh, darn it, I lost it. Financial coaching, financial education. Oh, they call it Scarlet and Gray Financial. And they actually have staff and peer mentors, and I mean, it's Ohio State, so, but they have activities, they've got, all of these things that they can do. Well, those are all great, but you know, Ohio State versus any community college, you know, so how can we build a program? And by the way, this is my first community college experience. I've been at four-year schools before. You know, so I didn't want to build anything too soon and have it not be relevant to the types of students that we have. Because as you identified, we've got early college, I almost said early childhood. We've got early college students. We've got traditional age students. We've got students who, you know, are my age and coming back. We've got students who are parents. We've got students who are taking care of their parents. You know, how do we make a program that can touch on all of those different subjects? Um, but you know, just developing the program. And we did work with marketing. We're hoping to get like a cutesy name, not too cutesy, but you know, to get something that we can market that then becomes identified as, oh, this is, you know, this is going to be about financial wellness, because financial aid sends out a lot of emails as it is, and you know, you're probably already like, oh, okay, financial aid, whatever. So how do we really make it attractive and eye-catching, and you know, something that students want to pay attention to? Then we can start thinking about, well, how do we break out into you know, some of the, so we've got Student Senate who touches, you know, all of the student groups, but maybe we start working with early college and get in, you know, with some of those. And there's some affinity groups that maybe we could get in with those, you know. We just have to develop the program first. So it's on my plan. If you could see my whiteboard, it's on my whiteboard.
Thank you.
Sure.
So going back to what we were discussing, let's see. I think both of these questions can be merged into one. So if you could explain to us what is a credit score, what affects it, and how do I responsibly use it?
Oh
Because I
yeah.
think that's a big one that not a lot of people know about. You know, I think we all have a general idea, but if you could explain to us.
Sure. So, in our financial wellness, you know, our financial literacy series that we have for this month, we needed to cut one short because Student Financial Aid was implementing a new software system, but that's actually been delayed. But had we had that one extra session, and it's probably too late to schedule it now, but it was probably going to be on credit. But since it isn't, I actually built it into Monday's session. But so pardon me while I pull up my slides, so that we'll go over it, but we'll go more detail on Monday for those that are able to join. So, you know, what is credit and why is it important? Credit is, first of all, there's two different things. Credit is money that you borrow to pay for things, which can be useful in emergencies. It's definitely more convenient than paying cash. It lets you make large purchases with a little bit of a security, you know, because some credit cards offer insurance or protection for things. And but then you've got the credit like as a concept, not just as a thing related to, you know, actually being able to buy things with it. But credit as a concept is your rating, you know, your ability to, or how likely creditors are to give you money. And that's not just you know, give you actually a credit card, you know, like my friend Sandy in college and all of her credit cards. Sometimes credit as a concept can affect, if you don't have good credit, it could affect jobs, because a lot of places will do background checks and credit checks for jobs, depending on what it is. When I was younger, I dated a cop, and they would always do background and credit checks for police officers. And I was like, well, why? And he's like, well, because if you're in debt, you're more likely to be susceptible to nefarious things like blackmail and things like that. So, you know, you
Oh,
can't
wow.
be, yeah, I mean, it's bad, but, you know, if anybody's gone out to rent an apartment, there's usually a credit check. They want to make sure that you're good. They're going to give you a service or maybe a roof over your head. They have to make sure that you are going to be able to, you know, make those payments and pay them, because they're in a business. I said jobs. There's something else. Oh, insurance, especially car insurance. You need to have a good credit score in order to get good car insurance. So there are, I don't want to bounce around too much. because credit isn't free, and that's back to the, you know, things like credit card and borrowing things on a loan or mortgage. That's the other thing I talked about rent, but you know, getting money to buy a mortgage or to buy a home through a mortgage, which is just a fancy, it's just, you know, it's nothing different than a student loan or a car loan. It's just for some reason house loans have that mortgage name. You know, not only can they affect your ability to get those things, but the interest rate on all of these loans is going to be dependent on your credit as well. You know, there was a second part of your question. How do you?
Yeah, it was so what's your credit score?
Okay.
What affects it, and what can you do to keep it or have a healthy credit
Okay.
score?
So the credit score, and that's actually, it can be really confusing because there's 3 big companies that do it, but then each company has its own. So I actually am I grew up with parents who, even though we didn't have a lot, we managed it, you know, really, really well, and that just kind of rubbed off on me. It's probably part of the reason why I'm so passionate about financial literacy, because I did have that that you know that as part of my upbringing. So I check it a lot, and I'm very conscious of what affects it. So there are 3 big credit unions or credit reporting bureaus: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And then within that, there are subgroups, and this is the part I don't quite understand. There's like a FICO 57 and no, it's like FICO 8, and FICO stands for Federal Insured. I can't remember, but it's another one of those like big picture, you know, things. So you know, the credit score itself can come from a number of different companies and can be configured a number of different ways. But it's anywhere from, I'm looking at this little picture that we'll talk about on Monday. They're showing, you know, I thought it went lower than that, but like a bad credit score is anywhere between 300 and 629. A fair credit score is anywhere between 630 and 689. A good credit score is 690 to 719, and an excellent credit score is between 720 and 850. That all of that, like I said, you know, you could have a credit score of 750 with one company, but it's like 629 with another. Well, why is that? Well, because different companies take a look at different things. I just applied for a credit card, and it knocked my credit score down a little bit. It knocked one down with one company 7 points, and it knocked it down with another company 3 points. Well, why? I don't know the answers to those questions. But all of these, when in order to build credit, though, you need to have somebody you need to borrow credit, or I don't even want to say it that way. That sounds really bad, but you have to be able to build credit in some way, shape, or form. For some students, the way that they may start to build their credit is by taking out a student loan. Now, I'm not saying take out a student loan just to build credit. That's not what I'm saying. But, you know, part of responsible student loan borrowing is that it does help, you know, establish a credit history with you. So Zarai, if you've never, well, you have an apartment, so I don't know anything about Saul. So Saul, I'm going to look at you. If you live at home with your parents and have never done, you never had a job, you know, I don't mean it like that, but you know, your social security number isn't out there anywhere and you're just in your own little cocoon. If you went out and tried to apply for, and let's just say you're 21, but if you went out and tried to apply for a credit card, chances are they're not going to give you a credit card. Why would they? They don't have anything on which to know
Yeah.
that you'd be a good risk. So what might happen with you in that situation is you may need a cosigner, somebody who has credit.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
So
has
that
a
was
good credit
actually-
history.
I was actually waiting for a moment to chime in, because for my apartment that I have right now, my mom had to come co-sign. And they were fun. Like, I filled out all of the paperwork. All she had to do was come and co-sign for it, because I had no credit. I still have no credit under my name. And I recently, a couple months ago, I did apply for a credit card from my bank, and which is a question it's a question about it's gonna come later on. And they denied me because I did not meet the income requirements. because I'm a student and I'm a student worker, this position is now considered support staff, but it still doesn't meet the required income that can prove, or they can take the risk with me paying on time. So it pissed me off, but I understood. I'm like, it's okay, I understand. I just gotta wait a little longer to be able to do that. And one way that I've also been informed that a student could build credit is if a bill is under their name, be it like you said, a student loan. I don't encourage it though.
Right.
Or like something small, like the phone bill. If your parents are on a family plan and if they would like to help you build your credit, they can put that phone plan in your name, and that helps you build credit as long as everyone's paying their half on time. And small things like that, in case you get denied a credit card like I just did. So yeah, and then I'll let you keep talking.
Two
No,
other
that's okay.
things that I discovered for building credit too is if you have parents who responsibly use credit, they can add you as an authorized user. And then there's also this really cool thing called rent reporters, and it does charge you a fee. But if your landlord cooperates, they report your rent payments and it shows like a line of credit on your credit report.
Oh, cool. I did not know that.
Also, there are
But-
credit cards that are particularly for people who are building credit that don't have a lot of requirements, and in some cases you might actually they initially work like check-in accounts where you put a money towards your credit card and it helps you build a credit score.
Yeah. And something else too, Sarai, I don't know if, I'm assuming your bank was like a big one like Chase or something like that, but some credit unions, you know, PNC. So some credit unions have usually lower requirements, also lower spending limits and things like that. But that could be, you know, there's more of a personal relationship at a credit union than there is at one of the big national or even a regional bank. So, you know, establishing, you know, a relationship with a credit union could be another way, you know, to have if they offer credit cards and things like that. I'm going to pull this up just because I know I don't want us to run out of time with all of the questions, but I just want to, I'm going to share this. This is part of the presentation on Monday, but I just wanted to show you real quick because I think it's a really neat guide. So, and to be able to, because otherwise I could probably talk all day about credit reports and things like that. But this is just, I thought, a really good way to summarize everything. You know, credit report is a summary of how you've handled your credit accounts. And so their report, like I said, they're by credit bureaus, and and potential lenders use them to, you know, decide whether or not to offer you credit. They use your credit history to create your credit score, which, like I said, is I'm reading it, I'm sorry, but a measure of how risky it is to lend money to you or hire you for a job or allow you to lease a car or lease an apartment or insure you, things like that. And then you can see all of the different things that are on a credit report. There's a lot, you know. Notice that it's also your employers. You know, all of my employers are on my credit reports, and I like this one because I worked at a lot of different places. If there's any, you know, there's a lot of other things that go into credit, and that's the length of time that you've had an account. So my very first credit card for there's the three big credit bureaus, right? My very first credit card is still on one of those, but I haven't used it because it's really hard to change my last name. I've been married for 12 years and 13 years. I've been married for 13 years. And it was just ridiculous to try to get them to change my name on the card. Because actually it's a local bank, not here, but back home. And they tell me to call the 800 number. When I call the 800 number, they tell me to go to the bank. Well, I don't live in Pennsylvania anymore, and there aren't any. Anyway, it's a big pain in the butt. So I just stopped using it. They kept sending me, you know, like the renewal, and I just stopped using it. But I didn't want to close it because it shows how long that I've had credit. And that's one of those things you can see, you know, open and closed accounts, things like that. But anyway, so one of them moved it off my credit report, And that credit score went down because now I went from having a credit card account for 22 years to 8. So all of those types of things, and actually have another slide, how to maintain good credit. But because I think we only go to 4, right? I don't want to spend all my good slides on today.
Yeah,
But,
no, I
so that's a
understand.
really loaded question. And April, I didn't know that about cars, so that's helpful. There's something in the chat from April there. So let's make sure that we revisit that question on Monday. Do you guys
Okay.
wanna,
Okay, no
because
problem.
because of time and stuff like that, do you want to pick out
I
some?
think we're close to wrap it up
Oh,
unless
good. Oh,
there's
okay.
someone else that would like to add anything.
I would say if we're at the end and running out of time, we could go ahead and wrap it up, and then Carrie could share the resources that she wanted to share for the students that are present.
Oh, I have those on Mondays.
On
Oh, okay.
Mondays?
I thought,
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
you said you wanted to announce the different
Oh,
assistants.
those. I was thinking, yes. Let's do that. Let's talk about all of the different. So I was thinking resources like somebody asked in the chat and stuff like that. So every student at LCCC would have gotten a survey that asked, how are you doing? It's kind of like to take a temperature of how you're doing. And there was a survey. I know everything's about surveys right now, but this is a very specific LCC survey. But there was one that was Zerai, actually a survey conducted by the Hope Center, and they are the Hope Center for they're fantastic for financial wellness and treating students as people, not just students. And I should remember what they stand for. But again, under the pressure, my memory goes out the window. And we had we had some students to report on that survey as well. And part of the results of that survey told us, the reports, the answers were given to the Hope Center, but then we get to find out the results that, and then there was a session on Wednesday from the Hope Center where they talked about they aggregated all of the results, but we found out very specifically that our students didn't know that there was money available to them. Didn't think that the money was really for them because they thought there were students who were in more dire straits than them. Didn't know how to go about applying for that money and things like that. So everybody, hopefully on this call, knows about the Advocacy and Resource Center, right? They are managing all of our emergency aid programs. And, sometimes we worry about saying emergency aid because you may think like, oh, I'm doing okay. And somebody might be better off without me. Or might need the money. It's Friday, can you tell? They might need the money more than I do. And I wouldn't want to take money in order to, if it meant that somebody else who was in more dire straits than me could get it. But here's the thing. I don't know how much you guys pay attention to the news, but every time there's a, so we had the first higher ed program, which was called CARES, right? And so that, had a lot of restrictions on, you had to file a FAFSA, you had to be, meeting SAP, you had to be doing all of this stuff related to financial aid in order to get access to these emergency funds. Then they call them tranche. I don't really know why, but then another tranche of money came out, and that one was called HERF, Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds. And that one, we got a little bit more money as a college. So we started kind of widening up, well, how, students are really still hurting. So how can we help them with, X, Y, and Z? There's a third one. Well, the second one was also called CIRSA. These names, this third one's called ARP. We haven't even gotten the money yet. But here is the biggest thing. We have the money to help you, to help any student, as long as it's related to this kind of stuff. We can't help you, go out and buy a new car. Although we could put you in touch with reliable sources that work with our students and people in the community to buy a reliable car if that's what you need. But I'm not saying that, we can give you $10,000 to go out and buy a car. But no student at Lorain County Community College should be going hungry, should be worrying about how to pay their rent, should be worrying about how to pay their utilities, including internet, in order to continue with your classes. There is money for this. Even if you think, oh, well, I'm doing okay. It's a little rough, but I can ask for help. You get to that survey that just came out from the ARC. You get to rate yourself how you're doing on a scale of 1 to 5. You might be like, I'm a 5. I'm a big old 5. Like, I need help. Okay, well, those are the ones that they're gonna try to help with right off the bat and more quickly. You might be like, I'm doing okay now. And by the way, God bless our students. We have some students that responded to the survey and said, I'm okay, but thanks for asking. Thanks for checking in on me. And so, we're like, well, but we're here. So if something should change, so, they can rate themselves on these scales. But if you're struggling with anything, whether it's technology, Saul's got a nice headset there. Well, maybe we don't know it because he's all got the blurred background. Maybe it's being held together with electrical tape. Maybe he really, really needs a better set because he has 5 brothers and sisters who are also trying to do all of this stuff. Ask for the help. Maybe your keyboard went and you need a repair, or you need a new laptop,
this digital background, it's actually to hide that I'm under a bridge right now. That's what you can't see in the back. I'm just joking.
Don't make me cry on a Friday afternoon. But that's what we're trying to avoid. There are these resources we don't want students to find themselves in those situations. There is money for every single, we could give every single student here $1,000 and still have funds to help those who have more serious issues. Now, there's a bunch of different programs going on at the same time, so that gets a little crazy, from an administrative standpoint. But the biggest part is that there are programs. And Michael, even for you, there's going to be information about CCP and early childhood. We're actually just working on, I say we, this is not a student financial aid thing, mostly because now it doesn't matter if there's a FAFSA, which is something that didn't apply to early college students before, because you don't fill out a FAFSA because we can't help in that regard. But there are going to be some programs specifically for, your cohort, your students, students who are early college, maybe more of like a bundle of things that, you may need. I don't know if it's going to be computer equipment or things like that, but this money was given to schools, and we're not just the only ones, by the way. This isn't something special to LCCC. Almost every school gets it. You got to worry about the for-profits and stuff like that. They got different ways and stuff, but we're not the only ones. And we have this money, and it is to help you guys. And so we have to get the word out. Don't let anybody think that their problems, are any less. A problem is still a problem, and if we can solve it, let us solve it, or let us at least, get you in touch with some resources. And so many community resources are coming not out of the woodwork, but they are also getting funds. And I see, I'm still on Facebook because I'm old, but the ARC posts all sorts of resources of places that are working with them to help the community, because that's what's so special about a community college, and that's why I just love community college, is that it's not just 18 to 24-year-olds. Not that that's what it was at Akron either, but the focus of who our students are is so much more broad. It can be somebody who's 26 and has 3 kids. We just helped a mom of 5 through the ARC who became homeless. And by we helped her with some emergency funds. We actually did some she ended up getting into a house. So we did, I don't say fundraising, what am I talking? Collections for anything that she may need, dishes, plates, things like that. And then we put her in touch with the community resources to help with the utilities and, things like internet and things like that. There's just so much help out there. And we just have to let students know that it's okay to ask for it. Please ask for it, please. To tell everybody to know. Fill out.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, thank you absolutely for doing this with us. And we didn't get through all of the questions, but that's okay. That's why we're doing a series Today was just the kickoff event to get comfortable with the information and get all the basics out of the way. So we do have a couple of announcements before we leave. So the next workshop is this Monday, the 5th, from 12 to 1:30. Each workshop is on a Monday from 12 to 1:30. So next one is budgeting. The following one is on the 19th about scholarships, and the last one is on the 26th for student loans. So if you attend all four, like I said at the beginning, you can be entered for a chance to win a $250 gift certificate to the campus bookstore. We also have on the 12th, we have a break between workshops, and we'll be having a Sexual Assault Awareness Month Q&A because April is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So if you come to that, you might get a few goodies. So I will do a follow-up email with all of the links and flyers to these. And also in the link in the chat that's already there, if you sign up, I can get you the links for the following workshops. So please do that. And you can follow us on social media. We have Facebook and Instagram, where we post fun stuff and the flyers for our events. So remember to do that, mark your calendars, and invite your fellow classmates and friends to join on the days up. So with that, I hope you all have benefited from today's event and encourage everyone to attend the following events. Fill out the feedback form that I will send in the follow-up email because I do not have it handy at the moment. And I want to thank you, Carrie, for doing this event with us and for all of the students that have joined us today. It was a pleasure hosting this event and providing the space for you all to ask your questions and become familiar with Carrie and the Student Financial Aid Department. And I hope you visit their office and make use of the resources they have and the ones that we have mentioned today. Remember to sign up and attend the workshops. I can't say that enough because we want you guys to get this information because it's so important. So once again, thank you all, and I hope to see you at the upcoming events. And with that, we close and end our financial literacy real talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
and
everyone.
You're all free to go.